Hi, I'm Robin Boyce with City Corner. Come on back because we're going to talk more about conflict resolution in St. Louis and a new citywide plan for St. Louis Public Schools. Hello, I'm Robin Boyce for City Corner. So glad you could join us today. We have a lot of great information to talk about in this next half hour or so. And with me in the studios right now is Mr. Wolf Smith, who is Executive Director of the Conflict Resolution Center for the City of St. Louis. Tell us more, Wolf, about the Conflict Resolution Center. I remember it getting its start a few years back. How's it going right now?
It's going phenomenally. So we really started out as a community-based mediation center focused on helping neighbors resolve disputes amongst themselves. Since our start, we've been working with the City of St. Louis in order to provide support around employment-based conflicts. We do mediations between citizen and police. And then when the pandemic hit, we really saw a surge in evictions. And so we stepped in to serve as the go-to eviction prevention mediation resource for the City of St. Louis. So we've been operating in the courts, helping to mediate between landlords and tenants to try and reach resolution, apply for rental assistance, and get them connected to support so that folks don't end up homeless.
What was that like at that point during the height of the pandemic to see so many people losing a place to stay just because jobs were shut down? People didn't have the income. What was that like for your group to step in and actually talk to landlords about, wait a minute now, have a heart? What was that like?
Yeah, it was certainly a unique experience, partly because it wasn't just renters who were facing really hard challenges. Many of the folks who are landlords in the City of St. Louis are small. Maybe they inherited a home from their family.
Got it, okay.
And so they're trying to pay taxes, trying to pay the remainder of the mortgage, and they ended up facing a very similar challenge. So whenever the federal government put out a moratorium on evictions, there wasn't quite the same moratorium around mortgage foreclosures. So luckily we were able to help to try and reach resolution, try and find ways where folks who were not able to work anymore due to the pandemic could stay in their homes while also trying to find ways where the landlord could continue to pay their mortgage.
That's interesting. Now, you mentioned working with conflicts between neighbors and individuals. That brings in the police. What is that relationship like?
Between the neighbors or our relationship with the police?
With the police and bringing and them coming in to help with that kind of, I forget what they call it, to help bring it down before it just explodes.
Yeah, so our work with the police is actually more focused around whenever a civilian has a nonviolent interaction.
That's what it is. De-escalation, that was the word. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Yeah. So when a civilian has a nonviolent interaction with an officer, they can submit a complaint. I'm sure you're familiar with the Civilian Oversight Board. We are actually a step in the process.
Gotcha.
So if a civilian says, hey, I feel really wronged, I want to have a conversation with that officer and see if we can work things out, we help to mediate that conversation. And if both sides participate in good faith, it actually gets removed from the officer's permanent record.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, so it's an element of restorative justice.
And so that means then if a conflict happened at that point and the police were called in before you guys got there, that could be a police report that's just thrown away, that's not against that person or what have you?
So not quite.
Okay.
So we're not... So that type of response we typically call like an acute crisis resolution, right? And that's really not where we're stepping in. Ours is more if someone feels like they were wronged by an officer whenever we're doing police citizen, right? So let's say there's a traffic stop and someone says, what did you stop me for? And the officer's, well, you were doing whatever excuse. They can choose to mediate as part of their complaint process against that officer. But We do also do mediations between neighbors where they're having all sorts of disputes.
Yes.
Some of the main ones that we see are barking dogs, shared property lines, and one of our biggest one is actually shared driveways, which I'm not sure why they're so popular in St. Louis, but I can't tell you how many folks will get into a fight over, oh, well, you're 2 inches on my side of the driveway. And so
how about lawns? Lawn cutting. Oh my God. I can't believe some people really.
Yeah. And then there's the one neighbor who starts cutting the other neighbor's yard, and they're like, well, you weren't doing it.
Big deal. But anyway, so when those kind of conflicts happen, how do you all come to the table at that point? I mean, say, for example, okay, someone gets upset because one neighbor cuts their lawn higher than the other neighbor does. The other neighbor cuts it down because they don't want to cut it for 2 or 3 weeks. And I get that. But the other neighbor is trying to do some fantastic whatever. Mm-hmm. And they cut their lawns pretty high. And so there begins the conflict. You're cutting over and you're making it. So when do you all come to the table?
Yeah, so it really depends on whether they know about us or not.
Okay.
So if they know about us, a lot of times they'll just give us a call and we'll listen. And a lot of times folks are like, I just needed someone to listen. And then honestly, they resolve it themselves.
Really?
Yeah, in many of those cases. For other folks, they want a little bit more support. So we'll help them by offering conflict coaching, which is where you talk to a mediator, you work through your options before you engage the other person. But then the most common one is actually the police end up called and the police say, why are we here? Here, take this business card for the Conflict Resolution Center. Give them a call.
Do they really?
Yeah.
So the police are actually giving out your cards to let people know, now there's a group of people, we got to go solve some real crimes here. Here's some folks, boom, that you can give a call to help you guys work this thing out.
Exactly. And all of our mediators are members of the community. Mm-hmm. So it's really a way for our community to help itself resolve conflicts that don't need to involve the police.
What are some of the biggest things you want the St. Louis public to know? And this is only within St. Louis City?
Yeah, right now we're only funded for St. Louis City.
Okay, so what do you want St. Louis citizens to really know about your organization and how you can truly help?
I would say the number one thing is if you're unsure, give us a call.
Okay.
A lot of folks wait until things are already at a violent or aggressive point. And the earlier that we can be involved, the more likely we are to help you work through solutions and try to find ways to make that relationship a little bit less tense before the police are called.
So you all are great coaching mediators, I guess, that can be called ahead of time before it just gets totally out of hand.
Yeah.
You know, so does your organization have workshops? Do you go into the committee at ward meetings? Tell us, do you offer that service?
Yeah, we do. So we're currently working to get into every one of the neighborhood associations in St. Louis, and there's a great deal of those.
Yes.
So we're working to really be in front of folks in that way. After we've started building those relationships, our goal is to have some more public prevention education. So in workplace settings, we offer this training around de-escalation and how to calm yourself in a conflict before interacting with someone else. And we're working on getting that out into the community in a really public way. And we want to make sure that we have a lot of support and buy-in before we just start offering workshops that no one's asked for.
Exactly. So you do go on different jobs as well, if called, for help with reference to mediation. And what kind of cases have you had like that where a citizen from the city of St. Louis is working on a job that's located in the city? What happens there when you go in, and what kind of cases have you had?
Yeah, so specifically for those types of mediations, we provide services for employees of the city of St. Louis and their subsidiary departments, so police, fire, etc.
Oh, gotcha, okay.
And we mediate all sorts of things in that context. We've had, this supervisor's not treating me fairly, and I've submitted an HR complaint, but I want to try mediation.
Okay.
All the way to, I'm not sure that this is a safe environment for me to work in.
Okay.
I'm considering leaving. Before I do that, I want to make sure that I feel heard. That way, if someone else is taking this job after me, they're not going to be put in an unsafe position.
Wow. So you can actually go in and help shadow that situation or cloak that individual to help them stay protected while they're there. Because generally, what has happened in the past, I don't know what's going on now. If you complain about an employer, they'll generally try to get rid of you or whatever, because you're complaining about me and you work for me and da-da-da-da-da. But you all are able to come in and prevent those kind of things from happening then.
Yeah, and one of the reasons we can do that is we are protected by mediator confidentiality. So anything said in a mediation it doesn't go to court. You can't be like, oh, well, in the mediation, so-and-so said. You can't do that, right? So folks are able to feel safe, and then the mediator's job is to make sure that they feel heard in that space. So we often find that just having that type of confidentiality and that ability to have that connection goes a long way at repairing really broken relationships.
How can people get in contact with the Conflict Resolution Center? Are you all a brick and mortar, or are you an organization where folks can reach through websites and get the information that they need?
Yeah, we do have a physical location, but we really encourage folks to go to our website, which is crcstl.org, or to just give us a call. We're more than happy to help folks in either one of those ways. Our website's really mobile friendly, so for those folks who are just on their phone to access the internet, really easy to get to us and really easy to just fill out a quick form, and we respond within at least 2 days.
Okay, so you're an organization that can go out and help people, and the folks who work with it, the organization, you all have legal backgrounds. You're sociologists, psychologists. Tell us about the backgrounds of some of the people.
Yeah, one of the coolest things is that we're a coalition of experiences and educational backgrounds. So I'm a lawyer and social worker.
Yes.
We've got other lawyers. We've got conflict resolution professionals. We've got psychologists. We've got teachers. We've got professors.
So you've got a nice potpourri of professional individuals from the community who care, that can help people out.
Exactly.
I want to thank you so much, Wolf, for coming on. And we'd like to have you on back, and some of the other people with the organization, as soon as we get more people on the set. That'd be great to just talk about some of these conflicts, or maybe doing a reenactment of a conflict that might happen to help some of our viewers out.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Robin.
Thank you for tuning in for this first half of the show. I'm Robin Boyce. We'll be right back with what's going on with the new great citywide plan for St. Louis City Public Schools.
Did you know dragging chains can spark a wildfire?
Only you can prevent wildfires.
Visitors and residents love the St. Louis Zoo because it's free. There's a train, a carousel, opportunities to make new friends, and plenty of fun learning experiences with the animals 363 days a year. So come and experience St. Louis.
Nailed it.
When I was in foster care, I never knew when I would have to move, so I always had my suitcase ready to go. Then one day, I was adopted. My new parents opened their hearts and home to me. My parents cook my favorite breakfast for me every morning. My parents take me on trips I never thought I would go on. They gave me a home and an even better reason to use that suitcase. My parents aren't perfect, but they're perfect for me.
What I love about St. Louis is the 79 unique neighborhoods nestled into 108 city parks, including Forest Park, which is actually larger than Central Park in New York, and of course, the beautiful Tower Grove Park where I'm at now. Oh, the St. Louis Blues. We've got the St. Louis Surge, two-time WBCBL champions. We've got Harris Stowe, WashU, St. Louis University, and of course, the 11-time World Series champion, St. Louis Cardinals.
So come experience St. Louis.
And welcome back to City Corner. I'm Robin Boyce, and in the studios with me right now is Ms. Antionette Toni Cousins, my girl, who's vice president of the St. Louis Public School Board. How you doing, lady?
I am doing wonderful.
So honored to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
Sit down and talk with us about this awesome new study that you have requested be conducted, and it's being implemented and it's going to be like a 14-month process from what I understand.
Yes.
To look at how to reimagine, how to rework, how to encompass everybody in the city of St. Louis whose children need education, and to make sure parents are happy about the future, what's going on. So tell us about the Citywide plan.
So the Citywide education plan actually came about, unfortunately in 2019, the district was faced with a really bad situation of having to close schools. No one wants to hear the term having to close schools, but we had to. We had to close 7 schools. During that time of closing the schools, the community actually came to us and said, okay, what are you going to do to prevent this, moving forward? How could this be better? So one of the commitments that was made was doing a citywide education plan. But we had to see what that actually looked like. The first step was to get a moratorium. The help from the moratorium actually came from endorsement from the Board of Aldermen, who actually launched a resolution. Okay. And they supported and saw the vision of what the district was trying to do. Not only did the moratorium go support-wise locally, but on a state level, elected officials statewide actually said this is something we really need to look more into. Okay. The moratorium actually requested a pause for closing and opening any schools, charter, public, whatever within the city of St. Louis. That really came because what we found is when we unfortunately had to close Clay Elementary, 6 months later, there was a charter school right around the corner that closed. 6 months later from that, there was a Lutheran school that closed. So
my God.
Single-handedly, all of us that are in education created an educational desert within a community. And that's something that we had to be committed to say, we got to do better, we have to do something different. So this is what really became the birth of the Citywide Education Plan. We had a study before where we kind of identified what the need was, where the community kind of came to us and said, these are the ideas and things we think would be best fit for a new educational system. So this is what got us into the state of a citywide education.
Wow, so that, I remember that, those 7 schools were closed and folks are like, wait a minute, not some more. We got all of the, we've been talking about food deserts and not having certain grocery stores and nutrition in North St. Louis. So now we're gonna have another education desert? Yes. Come on now. Yes. So you all, in fact, you are part of the elected board that has now been back in place for like 3 to 4 years now?
2 to 3 years.
Okay.
So the elected board came back into place 2 years ago. I became elected a year and 6 months ago.
Okay.
So during that time is when COVID, of course, hit, but we knew the need for the citywide education plan had come about. So we really kind of start moving forward with that. And a lot of people was up under the assumption that this was just for St. Louis Public Schools, but we know everyone is being affected by education.
Tell us who's involved with this
So right now we have part of this plan, and it took a lot of work, but part of this plan, we have champions. Our champions is a large, diverse group of people that are from charter, universities, business aspect of things at St. Louis Public School education. But everyone has some level of expertise in the different work groups that we have. We have health and safety, infrastructure, school experience, community, and I always get that last one.
That's okay.
Messed up. But we have them, and part of each work group, we have stakeholders. Each stakeholder is made of a diverse group as well. People from the Archdiocese, people from charter, people from the business.
Oh, so you've got all different educational groups coming together. Private,
police officers,
charter.
Everybody with a level of expertise within those subjects are at the table having discussions that no one wants to have. But we know we have to have those discussions to get to the end game, to identify what's better, what's the best fit for education now in this century with the population that we're serving.
Because things have changed.
Dramatically. We went from 700,000 in population to 289,000. And we went from servicing almost 40,000 children within the city to now about 20-some thousand.
Whoa.
So, yeah. So
that was in what kind of a time period there? What, 10 years?
Within 10 years, the community, the population has totally dropped for the city of St. Louis.
With reference to children in the St. Louis City public school system.
Yes.
And so you would say, you know, with reference to private schools, charters, some of the independent schools, you're talking maybe another 40,000, 20,000 students there. Okay, so, and the biggest thing that everybody's always screaming, we're trying to bring people back to the city. But the biggest thing that I hear from parents, what about the school district?
What about the schools?
Where am I going to educate my child? Do you have the private schools and blah, 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 blah?
So this is what's unique about the citywide education plan, because we have all different components at the table.
Yeah.
We have SLDC, we have a design team. So we're identifying and working with all of those different entities you just named to identify what's the best place to have schools. Like, why would you have schools in this area and there's absolutely no population? So part of this education citywide plan is basically a roadmap, a toolkit for anyone within the educational realm as well as development realm to see like what would be best to work to build a community and how all of these components actually come together to make it successful.
Now, there have been the champions that you talked about and some stakeholders that you pulled together. How have some of these meetings gone so far? I know they got started sometime maybe late June or something like that to really start building and getting people to talking.
What I love about the meetings, the stakeholder meetings, is you have different members, you know, from different backgrounds that's a part of the stakeholder group. They're into the discussion where they have their ideology looking at things this way. You have another stakeholder may look at things this way. So of course they're going to clash.
Sure.
But they can easily break down, walk away. It's good, wholesome clashing, because now is what do we do after this? Okay, I'm seeing your perspective, but how do we come together and focus on the root cause right now, and that is how do we make this a safe, educational, and healthy environment for our students?
Is the whole community involved with this?
Yes.
And are they going to hear about what's going on with this report in the next 14 months?
What we do is in phases. So what we've been doing is meeting for the last 3 or 4 months. Now we're having a public meeting where we're introducing to the public where we are at this point. From that, we're looking for feedback from the public to ensure we're on the right track.
Gotcha.
You know, sharing and doing the things that they've asked us to do.
That's the meeting coming up on September 28th.
That's the meeting coming up on September 28th.
So that the public will have the opportunity
to give public input,
to find out exactly what it is you all are doing.
Yes, ma'am.
And they'll have an opportunity to ask questions of the board and some of the champions that'll be there.
Yes, the champions will be there, and they'll have an opportunity to see where we are, as well as to engage to say yes, you're right on it, or no, you know, what about this or what about that, to really give their input. The goal is everybody will have a say and stake in what we're doing. Come April of next year, we look to have a finished product where everybody will buy in, because they'll say we were here from the beginning to the end of this process. And hopefully the next stage will be how do we implement it and make it and show how it can work within the city of St. Louis.
Superintendent Adams is just retired.
Yes.
Recently, and you all are now in a big search for the new superintendent
We're in
to come on board.
Search.
Yeah. And so, because I know I had a great opportunity to get a chance to interview Adams when that whole process was happening. Then it was really interesting to see what happened. Is this plan that you're putting together going to be a roadmap for that new superintendent? Or how's this going to work?
The citywide education plan is basically going to be something aligned with whomever will come in to fill Dr. Adams' spot. Okay. It's going to be used as a toolkit, a blueprint for a superintendent of any area for the city, a principal of a charter school, executive director. This is going to be a definite excellent toolkit that they can actually utilize to move forward and what they look to do in regards to education.
So this sounds like this is totally inclusive, because you're talking parochial schools getting involved with this project.
Yes.
You're talking charter schools getting involved with this project. You're talking about independent schools getting involved, even the city of St. Louis.
Even the city of St. Louis.
Getting involved with, how do we educate our kids?
How do we educate our kids together? We will no longer work in silos. This is going to take a group effort for this to get done. And this has been the first time in the history of St. Louis that you've actually had everyone rallying together behind education and what best practice would look like.
Now, St. Louis Public Schools has some pretty good schools
we
under
have
their
some
belt.
Great
I mean,
schools.
you've got
Yes,
Collegiate Bioscience Medical High School.
Central Visual Performing Arts.
Yes.
Gateway STEM. We have multiple excellent schools. CTE programs. Yes.
Yes, you got some awesome schools that are on board that have become sort of magnet or charter type schools.
Magnet, yes.
And they are turning out excellent students. Top of the class. I think Metro is always one of those top
always up there
poppers, and Collegiate has just come on board and just blowing everybody out of the box.
Yes, they
and
are.
these are public schools.
Public schools, free.
You know.
Free public schools.
These are schools that are like from what I understand, are in demand.
Yes.
And have waiting
lists. Yes.
For folks to get their children in there to make a difference. And you would like to see that same kind of flavor move across the board.
All of our schools, yes.
With the public school systems.
Yes.
And with the hopes that working with parochial, working with the independent schools and other educators in the area, that happens.
Yes. The ideal is everyone should be accountable. And we're going to hold everyone accountable, including ourselves.
All right. I appreciate you and the accountability. Anything we can do here at STL TV, let us know so we can get the word out to let everybody know that you all are trying to do it.
We are.
You know, there's a good working board. I will be happy one day when I get a chance just to interview the whole board, get you and Matt in here together, who's president, and just sit down and just talk about, look, this is what we got to do, because it's time. It's overdue.
Thank you. Thank you so much
for coming in and talking with us about this awesome plan. And St. Louis, I want to thank you so much for watching City Corner. I hope you learned some things today, and I hope you get involved. Thank you, and we'll see you next time. On City Corner, I'm Robin Boyce.